So, $1 million question that everybody's asking: should I be worried about the SAVE Act? The answer is yes. Yes, I do think you should be worried about the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act is being sold by Trump and MAGA Republicans as a kind of end-all, be-all savior for federal election integrity. Fox News and conservative talking heads in general are telling the American public that you'll simply just need a photo ID to enter a polling place and vote in the next well, any federal election. And when asking Americans if you should require photo ID to vote, a large majority of them agree with that statement. But that is incredibly deceptive. What they're not telling you is the requirements that you would have to provide to prove citizenship in order for you to show up to the polling place to show your photo ID in order to vote. And that's kind of where the crux of this thing is: the amount of effort that would require somebody who already doesn't have, say, a passport to prove that they're a citizen. And of course, Trump is trying to cram some anti-trans kid sports bans and surgery things in there. I guess as a way to kind of sweeten the deal for any Republican holdouts. It's stupid. It makes no sense. Anyways, proving your citizenship is going to be right up there with trying to get a passport. It's time-consuming. Well, it's time-consuming. It's a pain in the butt. Could be expensive. And a lot of people might not even bother trying to do it. To say that it's going to disenfranchise millions of voters from even participating is probably an understatement. So, let's dive right into the Save America Act, aka the Stopping American Voter Engagement Act. No, what? That's not it. Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. That's dumb. I don't know who comes up with this stuff. Anyways, I like mine better, and you're about to find out why. To quote political scientist Ron Haydock, contrary to the dominant narrative about a consistent expansion of democracy and political participation in the United States, the history of immigrant suffrage provides a more accurate lens to expose a recurring pattern that runs throughout the history of American voting rights. One step forward and two steps back. An influx of newer immigrants at a point in time sparks a wave of nationalism and nativism, often associated with war or political conflict, and a rollback of voting rights. Does that not sound like something that's going on right now? To reiterate what pretty much everybody's been saying up to this point, it is illegal for non-citizens to vote in federal elections. Duh. And has been for a long time. The Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigration Responsibility Act was signed into law by Bill Clinton back in 1996, stating that it, quote, strengthens the rule of law by cracking down on illegal immigration at the border, in the workplace, and in the criminal justice system, without punishing those living in the United States legally. I was actually shocked that that came out of a Democratic administration. Of course, I've only been paying attention to politics now for the last couple of years, but yeah, I say, put a point on the scoreboard for. Anyways, brain fart, that is gone. Back to stuff that I wrote down. The problem that the Save America Act is supposed to be solving is the belief that there are millions of illegal immigrants voting in federal elections and swaying the direction of the country. Of course, in MAGA world, there are a lot of crazy ideas and conspiracy theories coming down from on high, i.e., Trump says it is so, therefore it is so. But nationwide records show that just 0.04% of voter verifications are returned as non-citizens. And I want to include some stats from Georgia, mainly because of all the stolen election narrative that just will not go away. In 2024, Georgia audited millions of registered voters, found 20 non-citizens, and just 9 of them had voted in previous elections. Seriously though, there is little incentive for an illegal to vote when the punishment for getting caught is up to a year in prison and deportation. Sure, there is some fraud. Statistically, there has to be. But I'm supposed to believe that millions of illegals are just rolling into polling stations nationwide and dropping ballots? No, I don't think so. Okay, so we got some background on where Republicans are coming from. Let's scroll through the law and see what Democrats are saying and why they're opposed to it. The SAVE Act will require photo ID in order to vote. That's the part that is being sold openly to the American public via conservative media. But like I said before, that's really deceptive, and the truth really is in the details. Like so much nowadays, most things are shades of gray and just dishonestly sold to everybody as black and white. Before you can use your photo ID to vote, you need to prove that you're a citizen. In order to do that, this act is requiring any one of 5 sets of documents. Those are: 1, a real ID that shows holder citizenship. That's important. 2, a valid passport. This was mentioned above. 3, a military ID along with their service record. 4, a federal, tribal, or state ID showing citizenship. 5, an alternate federal, tribal, or state ID. I would assume typically driver's license being the most common, along with an official birth certificate or similar document, or a naturalization certificate or tribal card, etc. For the purpose of this video, I'm only going to focus on 1, 2, and 5, 1 being the most applicable to the general population. So the most repeated and false claim is that a real ID... Oh, hey buddy. So the most repeated and false claim is that a real ID will suffice. That is not true. Real IDs only prove residency and not citizenship. When I was looking up some evidence to support the claim that real ID does not in fact prove citizenship, I found a recent case that states exactly that. In late 2025, HSI agents arrested a suspicious-looking brown person on a construction site due to an anonymous tip. In response to the detainee's subsequent civil rights suit, Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Philip Lavoie? I don't know, that sounds good. Let's keep going. Provided this sworn affidavit stating that real ID isn't reliable enough on its own to prove U.S. citizenship. This is due to each state having its own compliance laws, which could issue one to a resident non-citizen. I mean, and that's true. Some of the documents that you can use include utility bills, bank statements, library cards, etc. Again, it proves residency, not citizenship. The real ID that proves citizenship is what's known as an enhanced real ID. It pretty much takes the same amount of effort to get as a passport and acts as a passport for Canada, Mexico, and the Caribbean. I can't think of the states off the top of my head. I'll list them at the bottom of the video. But I believe they're border states, truckers basically going back and forth without having to produce a passport or any kind of paperwork. They just flash their license. And it's only available in 5 states. So, womp womp. Second claim is, all you gotta do is flash your passport, bro. No. Okay. Anyways. I mean, sure, if you have one that's unexpired. I have one. That doesn't mean everyone has one. In fact, according to a 2024 SPAE survey of registered voters, only 48% had a valid passport. I mean, it's expensive to buy and time-consuming to get, and you have to pay to periodically renew it. And not everybody needs one. You need one if you're traveling outside of the country. Fun fact, more Democrats hold a valid passport than Republicans. MAGA, be careful what you wish for. This might just bite you in the ass. And finally, the third claim involves number 5. Basically, for most people, would involve a driver's license and valid birth certificate, and then standing in line in some bureaucrat's office hoping they will validate you as a citizen so you can vote after paying some kind of fee. The catch is you actually need to have your birth certificate. Have you lost it? Is it damaged? Too bad, you need to get a new one. That is an entirely separate adventure involving money and time and additional documents. Oh, what about women? How about your marriage certificate? Oh wait, your last name doesn't match. Now you need to fill out an affidavit with supporting documentation proving your last name change and you are who you claim to be. Do you think they can make this any more difficult? I say yes, especially if they feel that they're going to lose the midterms as badly as it's looking so far polling-wise. So what Democrats are saying is that the time and money required for portions of the population to be able to prove they're eligible to vote constitutes a poll tax. I kind of agree. I mean, paying to acquire these documents is not necessarily a recurring, quote, fee to vote, but at any point that someone new that wants to participate in the federal election process, it will probably cost them money. But beyond all that, my biggest concerns really come down to federal interference in states' rights and what would basically constitute as like mass surveillance. Right now, I'm specifically talking to the party of states' rights and small government. Are you concerned or worried at all that the federal government is trying to force states to give up their sovereignty to determine how they run their own elections to send their representatives to Congress to represent that state? Or the requirement that they then send their voter rolls to the Department of Homeland Security so they can determine via their system who is actually a citizen or not? I mean, that is a lot of personal information concentrated into the hands of a single agency that has also been given a lot of discrepancy to do with that what they will. And I'm not comfortable with that. And also, this administration has already shown that they can't be trusted with private data. Hey, real quick interruption. If you're enjoying the video and find it informative, a like and subscribe would really be appreciated. Or $1 million. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I'm not picky. Anyways, back to the video. All that being said, MAGA, be careful what you wish for. Y'all have such a hard-on for sticking it to libtards because you think millions of illegals are ruining our elections, that you are willing to gamble how well you look after you cut your nose off to spite your face. Millions of people are going to get screwed, Republicans and Democrats alike, and possibly in a ratio that will hurt you politically. Remember that the elderly don't necessarily have a driver's license, they don't have passports, God knows if they can find or even have their 70-year-old birth certificates that were printed on recycled toilet paper. And they love mail-in ballots. Also, Republicans in general love mail-in ballots. And the elderly tend to vote Republican. Also, Democrats hold more valid passports, as we saw previously. And Democrats tend to be in a better position financially. They can afford to take the time off from work and the associated fees to gather these required documents and jump through these hoops. Of course, this isn't supposed to be a burn. I'm just pointing out that you all cheer for millions getting kicked off the rolls, but how many of them are your base? Just a quick update before I wrap this up. I started writing this thing a couple of days ago. It takes some time to be able to sit down and actually put this stuff together. But I read today that Democrats and Republicans I think they're getting close to figuring out DHS funding, and part of that is going to allow them to run, I believe it was a separate ICE funding bill, and they're going to try and squeeze portions of the SAVE Act into that to try and get it to pass if the SAVE Act in and of itself doesn't pass, which at the moment it doesn't look like it's going to happen. I think this is a good place to end this. If you've got any comments, just let me know below. If you think I'm wrong about anything, also post some proof down in the comments. Don't just call me a liar or a demon rat libtard, I think was one of the comments in my last video, or one of my last videos. So yeah, with that, I'll see you at the dock.